Alright, so I mentioned that this stuff dries like concrete. It's not really concrete. It's kind of like a fairly hard, rubbery plaster. I mean, it's not, as you see, this is dried, but I can kind of flex it with my finger. So you can knock off all the loose stuff, of course, touch up as you go along, and blend it into the way your house is, or as close as you can. But it is pretty tough. I mean, this is fully dried, and it's pretty tough. It does have a little flex to it, a little give. So it's not going to crack on you. It'll flex. It is designed for outdoor weather. Some of my wood was rotting. I know I'm supposed to replace the whole board and do all that. I'm just trying to get by. They wanted about $25,000–$30,000 to redo the upper half, so I want to get by for a couple more years until I can save up for it. So I actually filled in this gap behind the wood with this, and then of course I'll put a bead of caulk back here, and we'll stain the wood back to match. It'll hold for a couple of years till we can save up to do the whole house. Do it the right way, but we got to stop the rot for now. Looks terrible. So anyways, we'll come off. You can build it up pretty thick. I did some areas really thick, probably 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch thick. And it did eventually dry, but it took a while, so you should really do several layers if you got a thick area to do. So several layers would work a lot better and dry better. I was being impatient, and I shouldn't. So, alright, we'll move on. Alright, so I'll show you a little bit of the consistency. So just kind of like plaster. Just like you get a bucket of plaster. I put some in my mud pan, enough to work with. Cover it up because it will dry up on you. And we're going to go back over and start touching up. I just scraped some of the loose stuff off of a previous coating, so now I'm going to go up and put a little bit more on areas that need some touching up. So see some areas I need touching up with. It's on pretty easily. You can trowel it pretty nicely. Work with it. If you got a spot on the wall somewhere, you can just fill it in if you wanted to. Not that that spot needed filling in, but just to show you, you could blend it pretty well. I'm just going to go along and touch up all the spots where I was scraping and loosened everything. So I still got to patch some areas, even them out. Just show you how easy it spreads. It's just like plaster. So here's a close-up of what's going on towards this upper half of the house. You can see it's really pulled away. We're actually missing right to the inside structure. I could actually fill this in with several layers of the plaster. I may put in some cement board or backer board in there first and then go over that. That's probably what I'll do on this one. But I have done some other areas where I've filled it in several layers, just kept building it up, and it's turned out perfect. No issues at all. This is kind of a big area, so I'll probably put a backer board in here and then re-smooth it out. So this stuff is just rotting away. So I'm gonna get rid of all this loose stuff. Then put some backer board in there and start filling in with the plaster. So this is what I'm using. This backer board, the ultimate cement board is what it said on it. Again, just picked it up at Home Depot. It's for behind tiles and bathrooms. So it's designed to take a little bit of water. It's pretty easy to work with. Let's see if I can set it up here to where take a knife, score it. Alright, so we just scored a line through it, and you can take it. Let's see if I can just push on it. Just break off. Nice clean line. Now, I just did that by trying to do it with the camera, but so this is a little too thin for what I need, so I'm going to use 2 pieces stacked on top of each other, and basically just use drywall screws, put it to the wall, and then we'll put a coat of the plaster over it. So what is it? Exterior foundation wall insulation coating. So coats rigid foam, IFC, brick, concrete. So it's pretty good, very easy to work with. Alright, so we'll get these boards on. Go from there. Alright, so here we just cut out a little rectangular opening. I'll slip that right up in there. Actually, I think I'm just going to do 1 layer. That does line up pretty close. And with a skim coating of plaster right over it, and we'll blend right into all this, we should be pretty good. So let me get my drywall screw gun, and I'm just going to zip a couple of screws in there to hold it. Alright, a couple of drywall screws in there, run some plaster, and I'll start scraping off all the other ones. I'll start plastering all those. This is the only one that's bad up high. A little bit of scraping. Not much up high anywhere. Everything's mostly down low. I'll probably fill in some places along the wall like that. See those cracks in the walls? So just put a little coating over it. I think we'll be good. There too. Alright, so I decided to put double layer. So I've got 2 layers of this backer board in. It's closer to the original depth, and then we'll plaster it in. You can see this is almost flush. This is like perfect. So double layer of that. So makes it nice and flush, and then we'll blend it all in with the plaster. Instead of filling in that deep with plaster, we can do a much thinner coat, which will dry better. So it was there. Once I scrape it off and get rid of all this loose, really loose stuff, and then we'll coat it. It's gonna come off later. So a quick before and after before you knock it down with a scraper. So here's what I patched yesterday. You can see all the things sticking out and not very smooth. And then started knocking this off here, down there. Of course, I got a couple of loose spots still patching, but you can kind of see how it does make a difference. See, I don't know if you can tell on the camera. Knocked down and knocked down. So a lot of things sticking out before I used the scraper and we patched. Alright, so this is about how far you can get those two sections before it starts to dry out on you and you gotta go clean your tools. Remember, this stuff is for outside. If you let it dry too far, it doesn't fall apart in water. You gotta get your tools clean before it dries. Otherwise you'll ruin your tools. So if you got a large area and you're getting knives from, lines from your plaster knives, I use this knockdown tool. It's basically foam, and you just get it a little wet and you can smooth out along there so you get a little smoother look. If you got a big area, you could actually design it so you can kind of match in the house. Now that's just a first coat, so that's not my finish coat. I'm just getting something on there. Of course, that's undone. We can get a little closer look. So it's, still a little damp. Hasn't been on here, but maybe 6 to 10 minutes. I just washed out my tools, so I just with a scraper, not this. But then I hit this with the knockdown, and I knock it down to smooth things out. Sometimes you'll end up with these ridges like this. But of course, you can take your scraper and knock those off later on. So that's kind of what the first coat looks like. I do have some backer board under this part, so you can see where it's kind of, our line is there. We'll see if we can smooth that out and make that disappear. Do got backer board on that upper one, but I haven't gotten to that yet. And we'll get the rest of this. Alright, so got walls scraped, got some of the holes patched up, that backer board. Of course, it looks horrible now, but after we all finish it all up, it should look good. Then I got to do the front of the house. Lots of rotted areas there too. Okay, start putting I don't know what to call it. Foundation coating is what they call it. So I'll start putting what they call it. So I'll start putting that on next.